It is just a huge honor for me today on Martin Luther King Jr. Day to be podcast interviewing William D. Silverthorn and his wife Lily Silverthorn, who are right now down in Peru. They retired, and on the left of that is Monica Dunn, RDH, a hygienist in Paris Hilton or Paris, France?
Paris, Illinois.
Paris, Illinois. I thought you were from Paris, France. How did all of a sudden you go to Illinois? Did you just drive from France to Illinois just for this podcast?
It kind of feels like it.
So William Silverthorn, his wife Lily, retired in 2009. William from the computer industry and Lily from government construction CAD/CAM project work. 2 years after retiring, a very devastating earthquake hit the area of Peru where Lily was born. She felt strongly she was called to do something for these people. They founded LAMA, which stands for Latin American Missions Association, in a village that is surrounded by 5 others. They broke ground and opened the doors of La Mission in 2013. It took a few more years to add a few more floors and then have resident missionaries present from 2015 until now, 2020. The purpose of the mission is to be a second home for residents, latchkey children, safe place, place to do homework, to acquire clothing, assistance in construction needs, health, education, family counseling, spiritual support. Lama La Mission has had many groups, churches, youth missions, etc. Come to help them at different times of the year. The past year they had a wonderful visit from Williamsville Church in Illinois, where their youth group, as well as Monica Dunn, who is the mother-in-law of the youth leader of that church, who is a gorgeous bald man. If you saw his picture, you'd never watch a Brad Pitt movie again. They did a lot of pre-planning with the local clinic, and the trip was considered a huge success as a pioneering effort to build strong relationships with the local schools and clinics, building missions and serving low-income families in Peru to bring hope, love, and support to the Latin Americans there and in the U.S. and around the world by educating, teaching, informing, and equipping not only the economically poor, but the spiritually poor. And I could read on and on and on for 40 days and 40 nights of all the things they did. They got great YouTube videos. But Monica Dunn on the left, hygienist, William and Lily on the right, thank you so much for coming on the show today because it means a lot to me. I remember a couple of times in my career, I thought I had a bunch of stress and problems with the office and kids and this and that. And then you go do a missionary trip for 4 days with 5,000 people that don't have electricity. And it was just like a spiritual awakening that I don't really have all these problems. And the other thing I always thought that was so confusing is they seem to be more happy than the people you run into in Tokyo and New York. I mean, if you've ever been knocked down by a 65-year-old lady trying to get in a subway, and then you go to these poor areas, and I wanted to call it the giggle factor. Because they're just always smiling and they're so happy. But you look at them like, wait a minute, you don't have a Nintendo 64, a trampoline, and a go-kart, so you can't be happy. But they're happy. So thanks for coming on the show today. And my first question to you, Monica, is you're a hygienist. Where does all this come from? How did you go from dental hygiene, where you're supposed to be doing calculus, to now Latin American ministries? Where did all this come about?
Well, there were a couple of factors. For one thing, my middle children are from Peru, and they're adults now, but it was always my desire to go back and use my talents that the Lord gave me to serve the people in the area that my children came from. So when the opportunity came to visit La Mission and meet William and Lily and partner with them, I jumped on that. The second factor would be my experience in dentistry. I have devoted my career to public health. So in the United States, I go into schools and provide preventive dental services and work with children and families that don't have access to dental care. My agency also has a fixed site dental clinic that focuses on people without access to dental care because they either are uninsured or underinsured.
So you work with the Edgar County Public Health Department and Dental Clinic?
Yes, I do.
And how long? It's kind of interesting. There's 10 specialties in dentistry. Everybody knows about ortho, endo, oral surgery, but they never talk about the public health specialty. They always want to bring in, they say, we're going to bring in a round table of specialists, an endodontist, pediatric dentist, oral surgeon, periodontist. Public health it's the redheaded stepchild that never gets any attention. Why were you drawn to the 10th, especially at public health, as opposed to private health?
Well, actually, that had a lot to do with my kiddos. When I graduated from school, I did go into private dentistry. But when I adopted my kids from Peru, I needed to be closer to home. And a job I actually quit my job to homeschool my son and to be there for my kids. And a school nurse called me and said, hey, we're going to start a sealant program. They're looking for a dental hygienist to work in the schools to apply sealants to children's teeth. And this is way back in 1997. And that was my first experience in public health, and I loved it. So I was an independent contractor for many years and served several counties doing their sealant program. Eventually, I got my first full-time public health job with the Edgar County Public Health Department. And from there, we built a fixed site clinic and offered a full scope of services. And from there, I went to a local hospital, and was on the grant writing team and planning and development team to build a mobile dental clinic that served underserved children. And all these years later, I have come back to land at my original place, and I'm at the Edgar County Public Health Department again, and we've made a lot of expansions. And I thought, it was wonderful that I have had all this experience in program building and planning and development so that I could partner with La Misión, and hopefully we together can make a difference to those families in Peru.
So, the rich, you go back through history and ask anybody. I watched this video of an economist walking down to Manhattan, where the big iconic, what is that called, with the big Times Square, and he walked back there every 50 years. So it's been asked the people, what do you think of New York? What do you think of the government? What do you think of jobs? And they'd always say the same thing. This place is ruled by the rich. There's too much bureaucracy. There's too much corruption. What parallels do you see in America? We always talk about the rich, the billionaires. What parallels do you see between public health, treating underprivileged in America, all the way to Peru? Do you see any connections there?
I do. When I went to Peru, I saw mouths that were very similar to what I see in the United States. Yeah. So we in the United States have a real public health crisis in terms of oral health for our children. But when I went to Peru, they're struggling with the same things. They lack the resources that we have in the United States. Here in the U.S., we have had a real push to create safety net dental clinics and provide care to the underserved. But in Peru, they don't have those resources. So families that can't afford dental care or don't have access for whatever reason, there's not somebody coming along to create a safety net dental clinic. And that is a dream for me. And I know that it is a dream for William and Lily to be able to bring not only dental services, but health services to the area to care for those kids that, there's not going to be a pot of money come along to build a clinic for them.
Wow. So, same question to William and Lily. Where does this come from? William, you're from the computer industry. You should be dreaming about DRAM and random access memory chips, and And Lily's from CAD/CAM. How do you go from memory, DRAM, and CAD/CAM to living 8 months out of the year in Peru?
It's a big change. It really is. when we first did it, I wasn't as accustomed. I wasn't ready to be retired as much as my wife was. So I pushed back a little bit and did some consulting and some odd jobs and things and did it part-time. But you just really can't do this part-time and do it right. So I gave in and basically jumped into it. And I don't speak the language down here. Lily does. She's bilingual, so she's fine. She's got 2 passports, all that good stuff. But
is the language just Spanish? Is it Spanish or is it a Peruvian dialect?
Well, where we are, it's Spanish. If you go up in the mountains, Cusco is a native language for the Incan descendants. So Cusco is another very popular language here as well. But that's in the mountains. I
just want to remind all the Italians listening that the tomatoes were discovered by the Incas, and nobody in Italy had a tomato till 1600.
No, potatoes.
And tomatoes. Yeah, potato, same thing. I'm serious. So that when the Italians are always talking about their special sauce, you mean Inca Indian sauce. But Google it. That's why God made Google.
All right. Yeah, you just educated my Peruvian wife. Yeah, she's always told me about the potatoes. I'm always bragging about Irish potatoes. She goes, you don't know nothing.
It's actually even more bizarre. So it was just one jungle in Peru where all the legumes. Carbohydrates and sugars are carbon hydrogen oxygen. But to make a protein, you got to add a nitrogen. Well, the air is 20% oxygen. It's 40% nitrogen. And the legumes, the lima beans, the navy bean, every type of bean figured out how to get that nitrogen out of the air to go from a sugar or carbohydrate to a protein. And every single legume on Earth, you can't even say they were found in Peru. It was one area of Peru, one little jungle, coughed out all 40 legumes. But the country also coughed out the potato and the tomato. So I'm all Peruvian.
Yeah. Well, you got to come down here, Howard.
Well, you're welcome. We're home here.
Well, I want to, and the reason I'm doing this, Monica, is because if you go into Dental Town or Hygiene Town and you type on burnout, there's so many people that are burned out, and I think they're burned out because they lost their mission, their purpose, their play, and even people that aren't dentists, like I have a friend up the street who's a practice management consultant, and he went on a trip with one of his doctors to Haiti. And Greg Stanley came back, and he was never even the same person. And sometimes when you think that, that you just don't feel like you're doing anything that matters. You don't feel like you're on a mission. You don't feel anything worthwhile. So when I get you on, I'm trying to put you in the right place at the right time. So somebody confused, burned out, bored, doesn't even know what they're doing. People are saying, are you going to buy a CAD camera or a laser? And he's like, I don't even know or care. They can go spend a week with you, and it changes you. I mean, have you seen that with missionaries? Have you seen people go down there and it's a life-changing experience?
Oh,
Certainly.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. We got them that they come back second time. They want a second trip. The Williamsville church is talking about coming back every other year with their youth group. We've had a girl down here last year from high school from college up in Canada. She took 2 trips last year to come down here. So yeah, they really do get invigorated. They love the working with the children. I think a lot of it is seeing you put your life in perspective in the right place.
Absolutely.
I think that comes, and I think the dental side has got to be with all the burnout that goes on in your industry. I'm sure in medical as well, that this is a good break for you. Yeah, I guess it would be good. So my point I was getting at earlier too is because I don't speak the languages, but when I do leave here, I really count the days to come back. These kids are so lovable. They really are, and you don't even have to know the language, and just with a couple of words, and it's just the language of hugging and letting them know you did something good for them, and you feel good about it. You can't wait to come back.
So, Monica, have you seen mostly dentists go down there with a life-changing experience? Have you met hygienists that gone down there, office managers? Who on the team have you seen just come back a different person?
Well, I have seen people come back a different person from other mission trips, but this particular ministry really started last June. I just went down to just see what the need was, kind of assess the need and see what we could do for this community, because I knew that they had suffered devastating effects from an earthquake and that it was a very poverty-stricken area, and that they didn't have the access to dental care that they needed. So as far as seeing people come back from this particular mission, I have not witnessed that yet, but that is to come. I have seen people come from other mission trips, and it is a life-changing experience. And you can't imagine. I know for me, when I was down there and caring for these families, I was so struck by how grateful the parents were, because they, one day they had no idea what to do. They knew they had children in pain. They knew they had children who needed help. They knew they themselves needed help. And the next day they had a better answer, not the final answer, but a better answer. And they were so grateful. And it does humble you and make you really stop and think about all of the things that we have in this country that people don't always have access to. So I am anxious to take. I have some dental hygiene students that I think will be traveling with me this June. And I have a couple, maybe 3 hygienists that are preparing to go. And we are looking for dentists. That is our greatest need at this point. We'll be taking our dentists on June 24th and be there for about 10 days. So I'm calling all dentists to contact us, and we would love to take you with us to Peru.
So how do they contact you? I mean, when you say you're looking for these people, how would they find you? How would they contact you?
William, would you like to talk about the website?
Sure. We have a website, lamaministry.org, LAMA, ministry with a Y.org.
So why did you go llama with only one L instead of lima bean? We were talking about lima beans. They named the capital. We got to change that name. How could we go from Latin American Missions Association to Latin International Missions?
He's trying to change the lima.
We got to go to the lima bean. So if they go to
in Lima for one.
So we go to
in Lima.
So your website is llama, L-A-M-A, ministry.org. But then you have another one, llamaministry.org/YWAM.
Yeah, we just started a few years ago working with Youth with a Mission. So that's it's still on the same website. That's a sub page.
Okay, and that's YWAM stands for Youth
with a Mission. And you get some young missionaries down here, people from high school and college.
Wow, maybe we should go DMAM, Dentist with a Mission. But you need dentists.
DWAM. Wait, let's patent that. DWAM.
Yeah, I like that. A dentist with a mission, because so many people talk about it. I remember, like, when I opened up my dental office in '87, I was demoralized because I'd come from Kansas City with water fluoridation and almost never saw pediatric decay. And then I was in my office doing pulpotomies and chrome steel crowns. So I said, I'm not going to sit on an assembly line from 25 to 65 and drill, fill, and bill stuff that shouldn't even be in their mouth. So every Friday, we did not see patients because I was so young and dumb, I thought it'd take like 3 Fridays to fluoridate Phoenix, right? And it ended up taking 2 years. But you know what I noticed? Those staff members, on the day we didn't see patients and we were all working on trying to get 8 city councilmen to pass water fluoridation along with the mayor, that day had more purpose than the whole rest of their week, and it set the tone for the whole office. And now I see dentists like say one of my buddies, Tim Taylor. He's a massively successful dentist Monday through Thursday. But you know where he draws more purpose? Going down to the dental school and working on Friday, and they pay you enough for, maybe a lunch at Subway or something. But he would rather go teach the children on Friday. Yeah. And he gets more out of that than the Monday through Thursday. So, so humans need a mission, don't they?
They do. Well, we are here doing it. So
talk to that dentist. He's burned out. He's fried. She's a hygienist. And talk to them.
Well, lamaministry.org/dental. We have a subpage that they just write that one down. And there's a description there of what we've done with Monica and her group last year and what we're planning to do again this year and the dates and the cost and a link for email. We hopefully will soon have a link in there for actually filling out an application. So we're working on that. So just lamaministry.org/dental.
Is there an email there?
There's an email link. Yeah.
Yeah, and the email link is what?
Just info@lamaministry.org, but there's a link there that says click this for email.
Okay, there it is. Drop us an email.
There you go.
And the email is info@lamaministry. Info@lamaministry.org. Very, very good. So that is so why are you looking for dentists? Why is that more common than other stuff? Or talk about why you have dental needs.
Well, when I was there last year, I saw so many kids who had really never been to the dentist. There were a lot of bombed out teeth. There were a lot of teeth that not only needed to be extracted, but there were teeth that could be saved. And a lot of children that were in pain, and the local dental clinics don't have the capacity to take care of these kids. And much, very similar to the United States, kids without access to dental care, whatever the barrier is, be it financial barrier, a transportation barrier, a barrier to because the parents maybe aren't available. We've got to find an alternative for these kids because it doesn't exist in Peru. In the United States, as I mentioned before, there was a push to create safety net dental clinics, and we have those in the United States now, although in Illinois, those clinics are in danger because public health clinics have not been cared for as they should have. So if I were speaking to a dental hygienist or a dentist, I would say, you cannot imagine how different it is to walk away from your clinic and your overhead and your staff problems and your bookkeeping problems and walk in and make a difference in a life. You don't have to worry about who's going to bill this, if it's going to be billed correctly, if you're going to get the reimbursement that you should get, if all of those things that we worry about on a day-to-day basis you can check at the airport when you head to Peru, and all you have to focus on is the kids and the parents who have barriers to care and need someone to step in and make a difference in their lives. And if you want a longer term public health or mission experience, please feel free to contact me. I can hook you up with public health in the United States.
And how would they contact you?
My email is MYDunn, DUNN 67 @gmail.
So is that my Dunn, or does your middle name start with Y?
My middle name starts with Y.
Really? What is it? Yellow?
It's Yvonne.
Yvonne. Oh, Yvonne? Yvonne?
Well, it's pronounced Yvonne, but it's spelled with a Y. YVONNE.
YVONNE?
Yes.
Huh. I thought that was kind of like MySpace, My Dunn.
No.
And what's the number 67? What's that signify for you?
Well, my husband created my email account, and he put the year of my birth there. So now everyone knows I was born in 1967.
Oh, that is awesome. That is awesome. Oh, my gosh. So now we know. Let's see. I have to get out my trusty calculator. 67.
I'll be 53 on Thursday.
You'll be 53 on Thursday. Well, happy birthday. And for your birthday, you would like a dentist to email you at mydunn67@gmail.com. And and you would explain to them about public health opportunities in America and in Peru?
Yes, I would be happy to. Yes.
Well, let's talk about that. What, because public health, they're only going to talk about orthodontics and Invisalign, and if there's anything bad in dentistry, it's a Smiles Direct Club was going to do it for 1/3 the cost. It's like, right. dude, how many Americans could never afford ortho. Let's just start with there. Out of 325 million Americans, how many of them are due to family, economics, challenges, substance abuse, personal issues, mental illness? What percent of Americans can't pull themselves up by their bootstraps because they don't have any boots on and would be challenged by that?
Well, that's a really good question. And I'm not sure what the percentage is, but I do know what I see when I go out into our communities and into our schools. And, just this year, I have seen children who really are barely able to function with their teeth because they do need orthodontic treatment, but they don't meet the score and they're on Medicaid, so they're not going to get treatment. This year, I saw a young lady who was a freshman in high school who needed to have some of her maxillary anteriors extracted and needed a partial and has suffered being made fun of. I had a 13-year-old who needs full mouth extractions and dentures. And we don't have enough dentists in public health. We don't have enough dental professionals, period, in public health. And especially in Illinois, we struggle in Illinois because our reimbursement rates are about 40% of usual and customary. And, many, many years ago, over 20 years ago, 23 years ago, there was more funding for public health clinics. But the funding to sustain, if we're only making 40% of usual and customary, we still need to hire a staff that is quality. We need quality staff members. We need quality equipment and all of the things that you need in a dental office, yet our reimbursement rates are so low. So really, when you think about what you want to do with your life, and I have known many dentists. One of my very good friends retired from his practice and came to work in public health. And he spent the last 10 or 12 years of his dental career in public health and just affected so many kids and families. And so, we have a need for that. Many states, I know in Illinois, there is a loan repayment for dentists coming out of college and needing to get their loans repaid. So if they come to work for a public health clinic, they can apply for that loan repayment plan. And that has been really helpful for many dentists. And there's lots of other things to talk about. There may be dentists that would just like to devote a day to public health, or they would like to do some volunteer work in public health. So, I need dentists to go to Peru with me. I'd love to talk to dentists as well who would just like to devote some time to public health, to people that just don't have access to care without people who are dedicated to them.
So, William and Lily, the interesting thing about Peru is that, if you look at the globe, Peru is actually more east than Miami, Florida. I mean, if you flew straight up from Peru, you would miss Miami, Florida, and land in New Jersey. But it's on the Ring of Fire. And so the Atlantic, you can see how Africa fits in the Caribbean, and you can see how it's pulling apart. Well, if it's pulling apart, the opposite is the Pacific is compressing. That's why you see Hawaii volcanoes shoot up right in the middle. And when you look at the Peru, I mean, it sits on the Earth's Ring of Fire, a horseshoe-shaped geological disaster zone, which sees 90% of the world's earthquakes occur on the Ring of Fire. The seismic region stretches along the Pacific coastline. It goes all the way up to San Fran, around Alaska. Alaska is the only place that had an earthquake of they've had an earthquake of a 10, all the way down to Japan. I remember the first time I was in Anchorage, Alaska. I was walking with this guy down the street, and we walked up the stairways, and I said, "Why is there a stairway right in the middle of the street?" He goes, "Seriously?" And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Look to your right, look to your left." I said, "What?" And the whole land was a meter higher. He goes, "The last time we had an earthquake of a 10, one side went up a meter, one side went down." But anyway, but the question I'm asking is, how much of the poverty? Is the poverty different in Peru because of the earthquake zone, the Ring of Fire, or do you see similarities with the poor in Paris, Illinois? Is it the breakdown of the family? Is it economics? Is it mental illness? What similarities do you see of the same Homo sapien living in two different countries, two different languages, on two different sides of the equator?
I think the poverty in Peru is more like because of the system, the government system here. There's not enough equality here. So if you find a job, you find it because you have some connections, or sometimes it's just tradition. People just like to live the way they live, and they have no other choice. I think it's most of the time it's money issue. They don't make a lot of money, especially people that don't have education. We are working in the farm area, so most of these people don't make a lot of money. They make like maybe $10-15 a day, and work, even Monday through Saturday, and the children are left by themselves. You see a lot more poverty in the province, not necessarily in Lima, but the metropolitan Lima. You have people, different kind of people, middle class, rich people, poor people. But we see, and especially since I left Peru more than 50 years ago, actually the age of Monica, I left in 67. A lot of people, they left the Andes, the highlands, and came down to the coast to find job, because there's no job in the highlands. Everybody is a farmer, and they can live on the farm, and they wanted to go to the university. They want to have a better life. So they come down to the coast, and that's what creates the population. But it more is like culture, I would say. That's why a lot of people try to go to another country, to go to USA, Canada, even Japan and Europe. But the poverty is the same, but I think people that are poor here, they seem to be much happier. They rather stand in the corner and sell stone, and you can sell the stone. Peru is, I can talk for Peru, is a very capitalistic country, because you can sell anything in the street, and people buy it. So the poor people don't depend on the government. The government doesn't give them welfare or food stamp, or they do have medical, what's it called, social medicine, but it takes 6 months to get an appointment. And but if you're upper class and you work in a nice company, you have your own business, then you can afford to go to a private hospital, private clinic, and get better care. But it's a lot of difference in the poverty in Peru versus the poverty in U.S. If people in USA want to be poor, it's because they want to be poor, But in Peru, I guess they don't have a chance. They try, but they don't have a chance to excel unless you have, connections or money.
Yeah, the earthquake point you brought up, it is an active area. Once every other month when we're down here, we get a 5.6 or 5.2 or something that we do post about on our newsletter. But the earthquake was a couple years before we came down. It was 2007 was the big one that this area is still recovering from. And that was a tsunami and everything in Pisco, which is an hour away from us. So it was a pretty big one. And that's the thing they've been rebuilding from. Some places you see around here look like it happened yesterday. But people are recovering well. It's the weather is beautiful. It's like San Diego weather. It's pretty good. Very mild differences between winter and summer. The seasons are the opposite down here. But the people are great, and you just fall in love with them, and they just need care. They just need care.
So what? It's so amazing how 5,000 years of recorded history, everyone's talked about the government the same way. They're the problem, not the solution. They're thugs. They cause war. They kill people. And it just amazes me how they still want to believe that the government's still the good guy. But the good guy is the individual. It's the family. It's your own values. And everybody that says they're going to be the good guy in the government, they always get there and then prove us completely wrong. But I think it's interesting how whenever I go lecture in another country, you can always spot the Mormons a mile away because it's two young guys on a bicycle and they got their white shirt on and all that. And I almost wrecked the car, jump out of the taxi, run clear across the street and say, hey, I'm from Arizona. I live in right in the second Mormon capital of the world. And it's young, bright-eyed, and bushy-tailed kids, and they're usually like 18, 19, 20. It's kind of between high school and college, and I'll say, how long you been here? And they go, well, our mission's a year or two, and I've been down here a year. And I always say, I shut up and I say, look, you've been down here a year. We're in Panama. Why do you think Panama is poorer than, say, where you're from in Utah? And they always say the same. They always say the same thing. They never say economic policy. They never say tariffs. They always say, well, it's government corruption and the breakdown of the family. And you're like, my God, you're 19. You already found the whole answer. They always say that. And then I'll say, so give me some examples of what you mean by break down the family. And it's I know this one guy, he's made 5 babies with 5 different girls, but he doesn't help raise them. What have you seen that's poverty producing in Paris, Illinois? And obviously, Monica, you knew. When you got to Paris, Illinois, you're in the wrong Paris. You should have immediately flown to Paris, France. I can't believe you're going to be 50 on Thursday. And what, 53 or how old?
53.
53, and you still haven't made it back to Paris, France. But what do you see from Paris, France to Peru? From Paris to Peru. Boy, that'd be a name of a great podcast title. Let's call this From Paris to Peru. What is the problem cause? What is the most root cause of poverty from Paris to Peru? Poverty from Paris to Peru. Can we name that podcast this?
Yeah.
I love that. Poverty from Paris to Peru. What is the root cause of poverty?
Well, I absolutely believe that the breakdown of the family is one of the main issues. We see a lot of people who their situation is perpetuated generation after generation. They continue to make the same choices that they watch their parents make. And I often tell my staff, when they're struggling to understand why someone is doing what they're doing, you have to understand that they have only been taught to build a house with straw and mud. And they're not going to use nails and wood and hammers because they've only been taught with straw and mud. And those are the tools that they have. And can they learn to use different things? Yes, but it's a learning process. And so many times the breakdown of the family started generations ago, and that has just continued through generation after generation. And children are moved from home to home, and their stability is not what it should be. And parents, I see a lot of kids here whose parents aren't even available. I have some situations where parents are in jail, or the father is in jail, or I spoke to a dental hygiene class last week, and I said, most of you will go into private practice and you will probably never deal with DCFS, the Department of Children and Family Services. I deal with them on a daily basis. And I really think that is a major factor. Yes, we've got lots of problems with government. We've got lots of problems with government programs and corruption and all of those things. But the breakdown of the family has had a devastating effect on people's ability to rise above their situation.
Yeah, and a big part of the breakdown of the government is still just personal corruption. I mean, they could all be decent people tomorrow. There's nothing about government that says you have to be a lying, cheating, stealing hack. You know, I mean, I did not see that in the job description for government people, but it seems to be. But so, do you think America is more concerned about the Fortune 500 and the 60,000 page tax code, or the poor?
Well, I don't think the poor rank at the top levels. And I say that because, as I mentioned earlier, I've dedicated my career to public health, and I've seen many Band-Aids, but we've not really gotten to the point that we've fixed the problems, that we're dealing with the root of the problem, which is the breakdown of the family, and providing help that helps the families move to a better place in life rather than keeping them where they are. And so I think that really those are the things that need to be addressed rather than continuing to put Band-Aids on things and hoping that will change something.
So this is Lily. What were you going to say? I could tell you're something's brewing in your head. I can see you thinking. I can see you thinking out loud.
No, I agree with Monica. Yeah, the family breakdown is the major issue, even here in Peru. Parents are absent. They have children to so many different women, and the mom end up, being the only support, and then she has to go to work, so the kids are by themselves, and then the kids get pregnant at the age of 12, 13, and that's just a cycle, a vicious cycle. Yeah.
So do you know who told me about you? Dr. Sidra Igbal, Igbal, Sidra Igbal, DDS, MA, Jubilee Dental Group in Wichita Falls, Texas. Do you guys know her?
Yeah, absolutely. She's volunteered to join us. So we're trying to connect with her and have her come down. We haven't got a commitment yet, but we hope to do that. But she's a dentist that wants to volunteer time, come down here. And I think she's done some other trips like it with some other groups. So she's got some good stories to tell. I think with Doctors Without Borders or something like that, she did a trip or two as a dentist. So she's excited about doing that with us as well.
That is awesome. If you're listening to this, I remember, I'll never forget, I had 4 boys, and I took them on their first missionary dental trip. And they were 2, 4, 6, 8. And I'll never forget how stumped I was, because guess what? We went to a town, 5,000, Chiapan, India, no electricity, no running water, none of that stuff. And guess what my 2 oldest boys asked me? Daddy?
When are we going back home?
No, they said, Daddy, how come they don't have any trampolines? And I thought, wow, you're so green. And it's like, well, did you notice they didn't have electricity and toilets either? But he was just dumbfounded. And then Greggy told me, he was so sweet. He was like 6, and he felt so sorry that they didn't have a trampoline. And but my gosh, it was so cool. But what I can assure you is that say your team doesn't have a purpose, a mission, say whatever. I take your team down there, and my God, they become different people. One of the other things I noticed in my office was that we had this. There's this place out here called my sister's place because it's kind of code word. If your husband's beating you up, you can say I'm going to my sister's place. But there's actually a place, and we worked with a lady for years, and a lot of times domestic violence, they'd knock their front teeth out. Well, you got your husband, you got your lover's quarrel, and then your self-esteem's down, and now you're missing your front teeth. And I would tell her, when they have a cosmetic emergency, you bring them down here, and we'll fix them up. And I would notice that they would bring someone down there, and my team would fix up that person, but they would feel better about that than all the dentistry we did in the last month or 2 or 3. Why do you think some work gives humans more purpose and meaning than other work?
You made a difference. You really made a difference in that person's life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So
it's not just filling a cavity. It's making a difference in somebody's life that something tragic happened and you were there.
So I'm telling you, if you're missing meaning, and it's also a great family vacation. I don't understand why you always want to take your kids on vacation to Disneyland, Disney World, or go to Hawaii. I mean, that's one end of the spectrum, but my boys to this day, they thank me more for taking them to the underdeveloped countries, missionary dentistry. And whenever they say to me, I'll never forget, I learned blah, 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 blah. And that was when I was in, it might have been Cambodia or Malaysia or Tanzania, or Dad, when we were at that orphanage in Tanzania, it made me realize blah, 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 blah. And I don't know. I don't know. I'd rather take my kid to a missionary dental clinic for a week in Peru than to Disney World. I mean, what do you think, Monica?
Well, I think there's great value in that. Most of our kids, we have 4 kids, and most of our kids had mission trip experience. They did not go on any dental mission trips, but they had mission trip experiences, and that really helped them to understand that what they see as normal, just like your child in the trampoline, not everybody has the things that they have that they just take for granted. And that was a really important thing for us to show our children, that we need to be caring about what is going on around us, and have open eyes and a sensitive spirit to people who are in need and people that we can help. And, of course, that was the reason I wanted to get involved in a dental ministry, because that's my talent. Program building and care provision, those are my areas of skill and talent. And God gave me those to use. And I can use those in many ways. But one thing, my call in life is to use my talents to serve those who can't get the care they need on their own or by the normal means of society.
Okay, so if they go there, I mean, are they going to be doing dentistry in a tent? I mean, what type of facility are they walking down to? And if they took their spouse and a couple of kids, are they talk about what kind of dentistry they would be doing and what kind of facility and where would they be living and all that stuff?
Well, they would be doing, dentists would be doing basic restorative care and oral surgery services. We would be, at this point in time, we are partnering with the local dental clinics to use their facilities after hours or on weekends so that they have full access to what they need. Not only a dental chair, but a dental unit, suction, water, air, all of those kinds of things. We will be taking supplies with us and making sure that they have the supplies that they need to provide the care. Dental hygienists will be going into schools. And my plan is to take a team of dental hygienists for 1 week or 10 days, and then the next week bring dentists in. So the hygienist can go into the school and identify children who need care, and we can get those in to see the dentist and make and maximize the time that the dentists are there. As far as bringing families, I do have a lady who's interested in going just because she wants to be a support person on the dental team. She's not a dental assistant, she's not a dental hygienist, but she can help occupied children, she can entertain children, she can run to get children and bring them back and help people fill out forms and things like that. Children that travel, La Mission has several ministries, and one of the things they do is go out into the different communities that they serve and minister to the children of that community. And part of doing that is just going out and playing with those kids, teaching them how to play soccer, teaching them how to play baseball, working with them, and just making connections and loving on those kids that so desperately need it. So, there's more going on than just dentistry. And La Mission has many, many areas that they serve in the communities. And so when they know that a group is coming down, they do make sure that they have different things for people to do if they come with a dental group. And for instance, I last summer went with Williamsville Christian Church. I was the only dental person. So the rest of the group worked with La Mission and did other things while I worked with the local dental clinics and went into the schools, and my husband and daughter accompanied me and helped out. So if they come, we will put them to work in one capacity or another.
And
Lily and one other.
Go ahead.
Well, Lily helped translate. There was one other kid we had from Virginia down here who was a translator for a while too. It was really exciting for him as well. And I just want to brag on Monica a bit. In 6 days, she did 150 miles in 3 locations. So this is the one hygienist. So we're keeping track of her.
I had help from the dentist that was going with me. She did help me. So okay. We accomplished a lot, though. It was a great 6 days.
And Monica, you said that you have 4 children and 2 of them are from Peru?
Yes.
So what, you had 2 kids, then later adopted 2, or the first 2, or where did those 2 fit in the other 4?
Actually, my 2 Peruvians are right in the middle. So I have an older daughter, and then my son and daughter from Peru, and then we had a surprise.
So you don't have to answer. You can say none of your business. Go on. But so how does a woman how does a woman like you has a child, get 2 from Peru, then have a Houdini at the end? I mean, how did that come about?
Well, actually, we tried. My husband and I. My oldest daughter is from a previous marriage, and my husband adopted her, and we tried to have more children and found out that we could not have any more children. And we decided that really we wanted to adopt, and we wanted to adopt from Peru. So that was just a decision, and we came home with our son, who was 2, and our daughter, who was an infant, and we don't know what happened next, but we got our water.
That is amazing. So when is your next? So when is mission season? You're down there 8 months a year. You're up here 4. When is mission season for you guys?
It's 24/7 down here. We are 12 months a year. We go back and forth. We're shifting back to 2 trips a year, just for sanity's sake. But when we're not here, we have a wonderful family here, a Venezuelan family that operate the place here, the Borregas. They are here all the time. We hope to add a few more staff people. But the place is definitely functional and operational even when we're not down here. So it's a 12-month mission project.
Wow. And so when is the so when is the next one?
The next dental trip?
Yeah.
I am taking a group of hygienists around June 18th. It kind of depends on the ticket prices, but June 18th is our target date, and they will stay in country until about June 28th. And the dentists we plan to bring down June 24th, staying till July 3rd or 4th.
And what's the other trip? Most of my friends that did missionary dentistry down there, they wanted to what's the Inca civilization?
Oh, Machu Picchu, you're talking about?
Yeah, Machu Picchu.
Yeah. Yeah, you can do that as a side trip. It's budget in another $500, and you can fly up to Cusco from Lima and do the whole package. Maybe even from Pisco from there. But it's a country trip within the country. So, but it's you go to Cusco and you need to spend one night because of the elevation, resting in your hotel, and then you take a train and you spend the day up there or more if you want to spend the night. Come back the same day to Cusco, see some more things at Cusco, and come back. But that's a side trip that a lot of people like to do because they're afraid when they get back and they say they went to Peru, the first question is going to be, "Oh, did you see Machu Picchu?"
And how far are you from Aconcagua, the tallest mountain? It's one of the 7 summits.
You got some statistics there. Yeah, you're like looking at Wikipedia or something. What?
No, I did. I climbed the tallest one in Africa, which is Kilimanjaro, which is right in the middle. So there's 7 continents. Kili's in the middle at 19,000. And then I climbed the smallest one, the shortest one in Australia, because being an old, short, fat, bald guy, I wanted to hurry up and knock out the smallest one. And but going forward from Kili, the next tallest is Alaska. Then the next tallest is Aconcagua in Chile, isn't it? And then the highest is Mount Everest. But I know a dentist who's been on this show. 3 times he's gone to Chile and to climb that, and he's still coming back. But a lot of times they try to work out. Like when I climbed Chile, we went to an orphanage at the bottom for a week, and that was our real reason to go. But it made it nice that when we were done, we could go climb Kili. And a lot of there's a lot of dentists that are into the 7 highest peak, the 7 summits they call it. So how far are you from Aconcagua?
Now, what's the biggest city near that? I'm not sure where that is. Is that near is it in the north or north of Peru?
Do you know, Monica? It's a mountain in Mendoza Province, Argentina.
Yeah, that's far.
Okay, that's far.
No, south of us.
Well, actually, they'll just take a month off because
Mendoza. That's Argentina. That's another country.
Right. But you could go down there and they could you could do the missionary trip, and they could knock out the on Aconcagua, the second highest behind Mount Everest, but to climb the highest in Antarctica actually leaves from Argentina because Argentina is the close to Antarctica, and they fly down there on some planes, and that one's not too. You want to know the weirdest thing about that trip? You have to go with the guide because when you sleep in your sleeping bag, your humidity and sweat freezes to a block of ice, and you could never get out of it. So someone has to not be in your sleeping bag to crunch on you to break all the ice so that you can get out of your sleeping bag. And Jeffrey Knight from Australia, he's been down there through. So I'm thinking Jeffrey Knight might want to go down there too. Yeah. But anyway, so any other words of wisdom? One last thing I gotta do this on. On Dental Town, this is under humanitarian dentistry. And humanitarian dentistry, we separated this into 2 parts because there's people who want to do charitable dentistry for humanity, not religious-based, and there's people who want to do religious-based. And they seem to be two... it's kind of like 2 railroad tracks. They're going to the same place, but one wants to be charitable, one wants to be a missionary. Yours is published under missionary. What are your thoughts about how do you separate humanitarian dentistry or public health with charitable dentistry, missionary dentistry? How do you wrap your minds around those terminologies?
For Monica or for us?
Either one. Monica, when you work in public health, that's kind of a form of humanitarian dentistry, charitable dentistry. You guys are obviously on a missionary dentistry, all of you, because it's not, it's 50 shades of gray, isn't it? Isn't it? From charitable to missionary, 50 shades of humanitarian.
A good example. I have a friend I used to work with when I was in the industry. He's young. He's younger than me. He's like my son's age, but he loves to argue. He loves to argue politics. He loves to argue religion. All the time. He's on Facebook, and my kids always say, "Why do you keep talking to him?" But he loves to just argue. And whatever I say, he's good. If I say left, he says right. If I say green, he says blue. So it's just one of those friends. You know, we all have them. But we have a house down here that we were building. We're fixing a kitchen and a bathroom and giving her running water and helping this widow. And he put it on his birthday page on Facebook and said everybody, what I want for my birthday is to help make that house. And from I call him my atheist friend who does not like to support us for religious purposes or anything like that. He saw this as a real need, and he raised $3,500 for that house. It cost us like $42,000. So it was unbelievable. So, I mean, we take it any way we can get. So it goes to a good cause, and I think that's what we both see, whether you're not into religious, but you definitely see the both cause. And that's the main thing. It's humanitarian in either case.
And Monica, how do you wrap your amazing mind between public health, charitable, humanitarian, missionary? How does that spectrum look to your amazing mind?
Well, I agree with William. People have different driving forces. For me, I believe that God called me into public health dentistry, and I feel like my work in the United States is I am working on a mission field. It is my job, but I do it because I care and really have a heart for the people that I'm serving and a passion for them. And I want to demonstrate the love of Christ as I do my job. Does that mean I go into the schools and scream, Jesus from the rooftops? No, they would throw me out. But that's the call on my life. And the same thing for going to Peru. I believe that the Lord has called me to do that, and he has equipped me with my skills and talents to be able to do something like this. But some of the people who are considering going on the mission trip with me are going for strictly humanitarian reasons. And, it does come to the same result. Basically, I mean, I am working with the mission, and the mission is putting forth that they are there as a ministry to serve these communities. People go and don't go for that specific reason, but they are helping the communities and they are providing care, and they're, they do it for different reasons. But in the end, we are all helping the people of the community, and we are serving them in a way that they won't be served if we don't stand up and do something.
Well, William, you're kind of that arguing guy. I mean, I said tomato, and you instantly said potato. So see, he was just trying to pick a fight. Okay, well, on behalf of MLK, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, who stands on the shoulders of Martin Luther, the original day, who goes back to who was the other one with oh my gosh, what name I think, the Saint Vincent de Paul. Another from the 1500s, where we have dentists in here that volunteer for St. Vincent de Paul. I mean, it's all amazing. Thank you so much to William Silverthorn and his better half, Lily. Thank you, Monica, from Paris, Peru, from poverty from Paris to Peru. It was just a beautiful podcast. And I really, if you're listening to this, you know who you are. Don't do another vacation. Don't do another cruise. And here's another thing. Why are you all stressed out? because you spend more than you make. Dentists always they have too big a house. They eat out too many meals. I mean, you look at a dentist, you say, well, here's what all the median Americans do. Here's the size of their house. There's bigger. Well, here's the average car. There's more expensive. Here's the average vacation. They can't even do anything at the median mode mean one thing. So you know what you ought to do? The next time your family wants to take a $50,000 vacation to Hawaii for 2 weeks and do the cruise and all that kind of stuff, and then you'll wonder why your kids don't have values or whatever. You know what you need to do? Go do some charity dentistry, humanitarian dentistry. I don't care if it's charity dentistry. I don't care if it's missionary dentistry. I love Mother Teresa's quote on that. They said, is this humanitarian, is a charity? She goes, and whatever. And she goes, well, all that's between me and God, and it has nothing to do with you anyway. Isn't that interesting?
Yeah.
She's like, this is between me and God, and you're not part of that. Thank you for all that you do, and I hope that this attracted somebody to come join you in Peru, and I want to join you in Peru someday. I just don't know if Peruvians make beer. Do they make beer?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yes.
All right, then we solved that problem. That was the major logistic problem.
Yeah, I don't get a lot of beer at the mission, so I want you to come down so I can go have one.
All right, we'll do it. I definitely want to go do it. My brother Paul just climbed that in Peru. But okay, thank you for all that you guys do, and thank you for taking an hour out of your life to talk to my homies today on MLK Day. It was just fantastic.
God bless you.
Thank you.
All right, have a great day.